So I am just going to swing by Truckmasters today, see what they're up to, see what kind of fancy lift kits and wheels and tires and suspension upgrades and different things like that they're putting on people's vehicles. I don't plan on getting anything done, just again wanted to stop by and see what's going on. So this F350 has a 2.5-inch level kit that they installed. Here's the level right there. Looks like either a Pro Comp or a Ready Lift kit. What do you guys think of the stance of this truck? I know it may be a little tough to tell. This truck also has a road armor rear bumper on it. But even with the 2.5-inch level up front, there's still a pretty significant rake to the back. So the back of it still sits probably a good inch taller than the front. So I can imagine what, almost 3.5 inches difference between the front and the back without the level on it. I'm thinking about putting a level on my truck. I want your feedback on it. Once I add the airbags to my truck, and I don't know if that's a giveaway for most people that I'm adding airbags to my truck, once I add them, I won't really be concerned about how level the truck sits with the load in the back, because I can always level the load back out with the airbags. So just want your take on it. What do you guys think? Should I add a 2.5-inch level to the front of my truck? Please let me know in the comments below. And this truck also has a road armor bumper on the front. Notice they got a Raptor here. You guys know what you're doing to this thing?
I know we're doing some turbo upgrades. We're basically doing every upgrade you can do to these without replacing the turbos. Going to get a new pedestal, get a new tune, and then doing the RPG 6.5 lift in the front, the collar lift, the good one, comes out of California. Yeah, that's a good customer of ours. This is actually for his 15-year-old daughter.
15-year-old daughter getting a $85,000 Raptor.
You might remember from one of your other videos the big blue F350 dually that was lifted.
I do.
That's his.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his work truck.
Well, that's a nice setup. So this truck right here has an 8-inch lift on it. My truck has no lift on it. This truck sits 3 inches taller than my completely stock F350. I guess my truck's a 1/2 inch taller than, or not even that, maybe 1/8 of an inch taller than it might normally be because of the new tires. But that's pretty crazy, just how tall my truck is compared to a previous generation with an 8-inch lift kit on it. Pretty crazy. And here's an inside view of my truck looking over at that Super Duty with an 8-inch lift on it. And again, that's pretty crazy that it's only maybe 4 inches difference in height. It's definitely a taller truck. It's got bigger tires, bigger wheels, as well as, again, an 8-inch lift. But it's surprising how with an 8-inch lift, it doesn't appear to be 8 inches taller than my truck. So I'm leaving Truckmasters now. They were pretty busy there, and they have a lot of trucks that go through that place. I guess when you're the truck master, you probably have a lot of people coming to you. So something interesting that I want to do to my truck, I'm a little hesitant to do it, but I may do it anyways. I am considering grinding down my steering stops on each side to permit me a better turning radius on my truck. My 450 had a phenomenal turning radius. Right at 45 degrees was where you could get the tires turned to. On this truck, it's closer to about 39 degrees. And believe it or not, those 6 degrees make a huge difference when it comes to your ability to do a U-turn or to pull out of a parking lot without having to make it a multi-point turn. So what I'm considering doing is grinding about 1/8 of an inch off of each one of my steering stops on the truck. I talked to Josh at Truckmasters. He doesn't think that there would be any issue. Of course, he would want to get it on a lift, measure all the components, make sure there's no clearance issues. Then the other concern is, am I going to bind my U-joints, my axles, or am I going to have a problem hitting any component that may then interfere with that increased steering radius? So taking measurements, making sure that everything's clear is important. One of the reasons why the steering radius is the way it is because the knuckles, which essentially surround the hub, give you a limited amount of turning, because built into that knuckle or that casted piece of metal is your steering stops, basically the thing that prevents you from steering the wheel too far. The reason why Ford generally sets them the way they set them is because if you don't allow for the proper amount of clearance, your tire can hit the frame or hit the radius arm or some other component underneath your truck. Well, the reason why I think I don't have any problems shaving mine down slightly is because I don't plan on going to an excessively larger size tire on my vehicle. The knuckles, which are, again, designed to keep your tires from hitting your frame or your radius arms with the steering stop, are set to pretty much support any Super Duty that you may have, whether it's an F250, 350, 450, or so on. And because the F250 and 350 single rear wheel truck has roughly a 35-inch tall factory tire when you opt for the 20-inch wheel, you have a far greater likelihood of that tire rubbing a component of your vehicle unless you set the steering stop where it is. A lot of folks that put wider wheels and tires on the front of their vehicle run into a problem of that wider tire then making contact with the frame. So they'll put a spacer or something up front to prevent that from happening. But because my tires and wheels are actually smaller than what you would get on a single rear wheel truck, I have no clearance problems at all. I can turn my steering wheel so it's locked over to either the left or right, and I still have a good 1.5 to 2 inches of clearance between the tire and any contact point on the frame or radius arm. So it's just measuring the other things that I have to be careful with, such as the brake caliper or the hub or other areas that could potentially make contact with a component up front. Once I get that determined and we determine if there's nothing in the way, then I believe we can shave off about 1/8 of an inch, maybe even go to roughly 1/4 of an inch of steering stop material, again, which is casted into the molding on the knuckle, and perhaps improve my turning radius significantly. And this could really help a lot of you folks that have F350s or even F250s with the 18-inch wheel option, where you're running generally around a 32-inch, 33-inch tall tire. This might be able to help you improve your turning radius significantly. Again, I have to make sure, and Josh is going to make sure, that there's nothing in the way that could potentially bind, nothing in the way that could potentially cause an issue by doing that. You have to remember, a very small adjustment in material on your steering stop is going to equate to a pretty large difference in your turning radius. Taking 1/4 of an inch off would mean I would greatly improve my steering radius. Anyways, guys, if I decide to do it, of course I'm going to make a video on it. I'll share it with you all because I think it's something that other people may want to do as well. I'm willing to be the experiment so long as I know what I'm getting into before I do it. Hopefully I don't cause any problems. Anyways, if I do, you'll be right along to see what those problems are. Guys, if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. This is something you're probably going to be interested in seeing. Thank you.